After finishing episode 22, there's just 2 words left in me right now. 2 very strong words. And those words are just... fuck Maggie. Just... fuck Maggie. So when we first saw that Here's Negan would be episode 22, back in December when we saw the lineup of these episodes, we knew it would be Carol taking him away from Alexandria, and he'd be having flashbacks of his life before the apocalypse. We'd see his backstory, we'd see Lucille, but we didn't know exactly what this would mean for his story. Would he get exiled like his comic counterpart, or would he completely deny that storyline, which would mean he's heading face first into Maggie's shitstorm, and she would try to kill him? Well, what I didn't anticipate was Negan saying, fuck that. He did get banished, but then he came back, which would, of course, mean Maggie would try and kill him. She wouldn't like that. But he doesn't care. That completely turns everything on its head, and I think it's really, really good. It's the best thing that could happen to his character. Whereas at first he was cowering down to Maggie, he was like, oh no, she's back. Now he's regained some of the old Negan. He's not going to cower down, he knows what she wants, but he doesn't give a shit. In today's video, I'm reviewing and breaking down The Walking Dead Season 10, Episode 22, Here's Negan. What did I think of it, what did I find, and what do I think is going to happen next? Of course, before we do begin, make sure you subscribe so that you are the first to see my videos. And of course, make sure you check out the Discord. I am planning some Discord-based videos in the future, so make sure you join it so that you know when I'm recording it and you can be in a video. So Season 10, Episode 22, Here's Negan, was really, really good. It's one of the best episodes of Season 10, if not the whole show. And it's been a long time coming for Negan. I knew they'd always do it. It was just a matter of when, what they use it for. Because the whole idea of seeing Negan's backstory is seeing his side, how he got like that. And that's the most important thing about Here's Negan. Essentially, the reason we're seeing it right now is to make us like him more. It's for a reason. That's why we didn't see his backstory when he first became a villain on the show. It's been saved for this exact point in time because of what it does. At the end of this episode, after we've seen Negan's backstory, it turns him back. Different to the comics, he hasn't just accepted his punishment, he's rebelled against it. He's not gonna have Carol hide him away for his safety. He's taken it into his own hands. And we said, right, it would be one or the other. He'd get exiled like the comics, or he would stay and get killed by Maggie. Do you see what side it's leaning on right now? He already was exiled, but we didn't know he'd come back. By seeing his backstory and him thinking of all the things that happened and getting that closure with Lucille, he came back. It's not going to be him accepting a slaughter and cowering down to Maggie. When he returned, the old Negan returned. He's up for the challenge now. He's going to fight not just for himself, but for Lucille. Episode 22 starts off with Maggie and Herschel walking along, and just before she catches Negan's eyes, she mentions to Herschel a song he used to sing her.
Remember the song he used to sing me?
You are my sunshine, my only sun.
Fucking no. This is the same song that Carl Grimes sang to Negan in Season 7. And Carl said he used to sing that with his mum, so it's a nice Easter egg there, calling back to that moment where Carl sung to Negan.
Are my sunshine.
Go on.
This was a scene that shouldn't have been adapted into the show. I hate this scene. It's at this point where Carol sees the look that Maggie keeps giving to Negan, and this is where she takes it upon herself to take him away because she knows what Maggie will end up doing. She actually says at the end that she didn't want Negan's death on her conscience, which is one of the best things Carol has ever said. It was actually quite funny and true to her character. So she takes Negan away. Now, funnily enough, it's to the cabin that Leah was just staying at. The one that, Leah disappeared from. So she takes Negan to the cabin, and that's where we think he's going to stay for the rest of the show. He's been exiled, which seems a lot less dramatic than what the comics did. He was sent far away. The cabin doesn't seem as far away as it seems. So it wasn't that brutal. If Negan did have to stay in this cabin, then it's not that bad. But still, it can't be the nicest news being told that you've been banished, so Carol, being the soft, gentle, sensitive woman that she is, broke the fall a bit when she told him.
The council's voted to banish you.
It's interesting because it's implied that the council didn't vote on this. It's just Carol saving Negan because she saw how Maggie's been looking at him and she knows what's going to happen. So while he's sitting in front of the fire at his new cabin, Behind him, he sees his past self, Negan as the leader of the Saviors. This was Negan at his prime when he was at the very top of the ladder. When he was the villain, it's a voice in his head basically just telling him that this is who he will always be.
You thought for even a second that those folks would see you for anything but who you truly are. Which is me.
And then we get taken back to a place that seems familiar. Stained glass windows. This is where the season 8 finale ended, the end of All Out War, the war against the Saviors, where Negan was beat. It's revealed this is where they buried his bat Lucille, to mark the end of All Out War. He digs Lucille up and holds it, and it's here where we start seeing flashbacks of his life before the apocalypse. Here's Negan begins. We're set back to 12 years earlier. The dawn of the apocalypse. Negan's been captured by a gang, and they're interrogating him on where he got these chemo bags from. Of course, these chemo bags are for his wife Lucille, who has cancer. We then jump a further 2 or 3 days ago, before this happened, to see how Negan got the medicine. We see that he attempted to get what he wanted at gunpoint, but someone hit him in the head with a baseball bat. And it's revealed to be Laura. Laura was a well-known saviour, and actually pretty recently died at the hands of Beta. And it's interesting because we find out this exact bat turns out to be Lucille, because after this, she gives the bat to Negan, and he went on to use it from there. So that's really strange that it was Laura, especially due to the fact that no one mentioned her death again. She just got her neck done, and then that was it. It's interesting that they chose Laura over a rat, for example. A rat was a diehard saviour, so I do think it would have been better if it was a rat, because we saw how much of a diehard saviour she was. It would have made more sense if she was with Negan at the very start, and if he had known her dad. And I do think it would have been a lot better if it was Lucille that brought him the bat, that he would then go on to call Lucille, rather than some random saviour girl that Negan barely spoke to. I like what they did with his leather jacket, but I think it would have been a bit better if it was the bat instead, to make more sense as to why he named, of all things, the bat Lucille. And you know how she got upset at him for spending $600 on the jacket? What if it was an expensive baseball bat? He said he was a high school gym teacher. It would make a lot of sense if she got him the bat instead. But instead it was Laura who gave him the bat, who had the quickest death of all time. If you had blinked watching that episode, you would have missed it. Negan meets this doctor called Franklin, and whilst he's telling Franklin about how he's living with his wife and what went wrong with her chemo, we get jumped back a further 6 weeks. We see how they were living at the start of the apocalypse, and there's actually a scene where they have to eat dog food. It's what they do, they haven't got any more food, so they eat dog food, which is another callback to when Dwight fed Daryl dog food. It's almost like Negan was giving Daryl the treatment of what he had to do with Lucille at one point, living how he did. Another big callback is in one of the scenes where Lucy was laying down, she's wearing a shirt that says Full Moon. Full Moon was Beta's country singer name. It's crazy to think that Negan would, years later, watch that same singer die. And it adds so much to it when you remember what Negan said to Daryl when he watched Beta die. Did you know
Who that asshole was?
Yeah, nobody.
Now, we already knew from the comics that Negan was a gym teacher, but in the show we find out he lost his job because he attacked a guy at a bar. He beat the guy up and put him in hospital, and it turned out to be the parent of a student at the same school he worked at, so he lost his job.
Don't be such a pussy. This is how you get better. You gotta take.
But this is where we see how Negan really did Lucille wrong at the start. Do you remember when Negan almost confessed to Gabriel in season 8 and he said he screwed around on her? We didn't know what he meant by that exactly. Well, we find out he was actually cheating on Lucille with some woman named Janine. And I think that is one of the worst things you can do, let alone missing her doctor's appointment where she would be diagnosed with cancer. The fuck kind of name is Janine anyway? What is this, the 1940s? He missed such a vital part of her life because he was having an affair with some other woman. But it's from here that he makes up for it, and Lucille doesn't actually tell him that she knew about it until just days before she would die. Of course, Negan cared for her and looked after her, and she wanted him to know that he's made up for what he did. Now, once Negan has the chemo bags, the meds, he returns, but it's too late. It's revealed that Lucille ended her suffering. She killed herself because it's actually implied she thought Negan had run out on her because he took that long. It was amazingly done. It was frightening to see her like this, and really, really sad. And I think the fact that a show can make you feel like that means it was pretty fucking good. Amazing acting, and it was perfect. I loved it, but obviously for the right reasons. It was very sad. I wanted to kill him. And this is where Negan's shame and guilt comes from. Not just cheating on her, but he went and chased the meds when she didn't want him to go. And this is the shame that he's never faced until this episode where he gets closure on it. He's now not just fighting for himself, but he's fighting for Lucille. He's doing the fighting for her, as she said herself. He goes outside and cuts barbed wire off the fence and wraps it round the bat that Laura gave him. He burns the house down and rides away to get revenge on the gang. He takes the gang out, but he leaves the leader. This is the first ever lineup that Negan did. He has him on his knees. He has a speech. It's identical. It mirrors the season 6 finale scene. It cuts back to the current time. He turns around and kills the walker that was lurking behind him for the entire episode, and it breaks Lucille. He brings the now broken Lucille back to the cabin. He puts it in the fireplace and watches it burn. And then he returns to Alexandria. I swear, Daryl just loves the drama now. In these bonus episodes, he sat in the background so much, and he just loves it. Like, low-key though. He's kind of made up with Negan because he knows he has redeemed himself partially, and even he's managed to deal with it. So in these bonus episodes, you'll find he's become a bit of a head-turning character in the way that head-turning is all he does. Now that Negan has faced that shame and got that closure and burnt Lucille the bat, he's now going to fight. He's no longer going to cower. I think it's amazing that, contrary to the comics, he's not just going to sit there in his sorrow. He's coming back to Alexandria, and he's going to fight. Now, do I think this means Maggie will kill Negan? Well, she will try. But remember, because Negan isn't going to cower anymore, like a dog that's been shouted at, it's not going to be that easy. And remember, like I've been saying for a while, if he doesn't get exiled, if he does stay in the vicinity of Maggie, he's sliding down head first into Rick's comic death, and it could be Herschel that kills him. But the way I see things going, I mean, I hope this doesn't happen, this isn't my theory or anything, but I just have a feeling this could end in them both trying to kill each other. As long as it doesn't end neutrally, they have this big ongoing battle between them, and it ends with Maggie saying, "Oh no, we're better than this, we're humans, we can't kill." Well, you can, because you've been doing it for years. That's the worst thing that can happen. They have this rivalry, and it gets resolved. I don't think anyone wants to see that, and I don't think that's going to happen. I do want this to end in death. I think the furthest this will go without any of them killing each other is, you know, with Negan having been a leader, and Maggie wanting to be a leader, that's what she's destined for at the Commonwealth. I think it's possible they both go up against each other in an election at the Commonwealth to be the president or the governor. I think it would be a really close fight. But again, he's just so close. Now that he stayed, he's being old Negan and he stayed. So he's antagonizing Maggie that much more. But I think it's such a good and important change from the comics because, I mean, if Negan had stayed at the cabin, yeah, he's exiled, yeah, so we won't see him for another spin-off. That's exactly it. The latest comic Negan spin-off, Negan Lives, ends with him about to go and find Lucille's body and then bury her. Well, in the show, there is nothing to cover because he's not exiled, and he knows where Lucille's body is because he burnt it. He has stayed, and that does mean he's facing the wrath of Maggie, however powerful you might think that is. He's going to be facing it. 100%, that's not even a theory. Maggie will try and kill him. She's going to try. But the question is, will she? Do you think Negan and Maggie will both survive the end of the show? Will Maggie kill Negan? Will Negan kill Maggie? Will Negan just be exiled again? Did you enjoy this episode? What would you change about it? What more did you want to see? Make sure to let me know down below what you think. Now, at the end of this episode, we get something very small that sets up the beginning of Season 11. This is what Carol says to Negan as soon as he arrives.
Where's the A-team off to?
Looking for food at an army base Daryl found.
Looking for food at an army base that Daryl found. Now, that's dramatic. It wasn't a base, it was a hole in the ground. But if you want to find out who these military people were, make sure you go and watch this video. It's my review for episode 21. We look at all the details to show who these people were and what this military base means. It's directly hinting at how season 11 will start, and it's not going to be pretty. I don't think the people that were sent out to it are coming back. Whoever the Reapers turn out to be, either way, there's going to be military conflict of some kind. Not necessarily the CRM just yet, but something will come of this army base. They didn't show it for no reason. Carol just mentioned it, and it's setting itself up for Season 11. Whether that means the Reapers overtook it, or a part of the military is still active. Something's going to happen. There's going to be some kind of military conflict. So make sure you go and check that video out. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, then make sure you press the like button. It will help me out and get this video seen by more people. And of course, make sure you subscribe so that you're the first to see my videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.
This is for not killing me.